It's just like when you have to tap like A on a video game.
Good morning, everybody. We're live. On that note,
I'm not making any goddamn apologies. I said what I said.
tap A for butts.
Tap A for butts. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Morning Ritual. We're here, and we're awake. Why do we do a morning show?
We're in various states of wakefulness.
Yes.
Because I got bored one day and I decided that I'd make a morning show with my best friend, and
that was a mistake. Hell no, I'm just kidding. So hi everybody, I'm one of your hosts. I'm Noir.
And I'm your other host, Anita.
And we've got a very special guest with us today, Shu.
Shu.
Hi everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I'm Shu. I am the aforementioned one.
Hi, Sharif.
Is Sharif here?
Hey, we got a little look at Sharif.
Oh shit! Hi.
It's the GM. It's like Pops is watching. Like we gotta be on our best behavior.
That's literally how I felt. I was like, oh shoot, I gotta like have better posture. I gotta sit up.
I
have to monitor things.
So you got that dad aura going already. I like it.
Yep.
But welcome to another episode of Morning Ritual. I don't know why I'm trying to do like an official intro. We don't have anything organized here. We just kind of jump into it.
But hey, guess what?
What?
Right off the cuff, we did our intros. We said hello. We introduced ourselves, and we did it. We got there.
Yeah, talk shit, get hit.
As opposed to last episode when it was just me and you, we did no intros.
Did we not?
We did not at all.
Corson, hi! Wow, this is a good crowd.
Vindictive Jukebox. That's a dope ass name. Yeah. It reminds me of the John Mulaney joke with the What's New Pussycats. If you don't know John Mulaney or his work, that means nothing to you.
It does.
But if you do, enjoy the chuckle I'm having. There is no structure to this show, so let's start getting into it. Shoot, I'm very glad to have you on. I've been in Trouble in Techburg with you for the last 2 seasons, and what some people might know is you were at one point a fellow Chicagoan. Let's go.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me on. We've done Trouble in Techburg for almost like a year now, and here's the season 3, 6 seasons in a movie. Absolutely,
6 seasons in a movie. Let's make it happen. Let's jump the shark.
Absolutely. I mean, I think not that I saw the VOD or anything of the finale, but I'm sure nothing bad happened, and it's not like anyone destroyed an entire town while I was away. So yeah, it's gonna be.
I also missed.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I didn't check that out. I need to watch it. I was on a plane for the finale.
Yeah. Strap in, and the ending is wild. Is all I'm gonna. You know what? I haven't seen it. Who knows what it is? But anyways, that is such a fun game. I am so glad that we all just like came together and did it. And I don't get up early for anything. So the fact that I'm getting up early for like you and Tuckberg and Anita, I feel like says a lot about how much I care.
I think I'm pushing it to the limit to see how many times I can get you here in the morning.
And to wake up at 8 in the morning in Pacific time.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And like I said, Shu was in Chicago, but then promptly abandoned me sunny West Side. So I've got to ask you, because it's kind of a running thing with the show because I'm such a Chicago fanboy. Is the food better there, or is the food better here?
Oh, okay. I have so many thoughts about this. Rick and I talk about this all the time because it's just different points of comparison. I have yet to have a good burger since I've been out in LA. Like the burgers here are they're just different. It's they're not the same. I like, to be fair, we used to live within walking distance of Small Cheval, which is like my favorite burger of all time. It is the duck fat fry. Everything about it is just so good. And like, it feels like kind of criminal to just be comparing Small Cheval to any other burger, but that's like the thing that I miss,
So I mean, does that include the In-N-Out burger that all my California friends will shut the fuck up about?
Listen, In-N-Out is good, but Small Cheval is better. Like, Small Cheval is just perfection, I think. I think a lot of it has to do with meat quality is the thing, because I think the Midwest is like,
we
like
got that good meat.
Beef Central, Pork Central, and it's so much cheaper out there, out in Chicago, than it is in LA for like good meat. So, like, like I think In-N-Out is great. Don't get me wrong. I could eat In-N-Out more times in a week than I think a human should, but it's not the same. That being said, like, Asian food is phenomenal in LA. Like, this is some of the best Thai food I've ever had in my life. Like, Korean food here is off the chain. There are more Koreans living in LA than anywhere else outside of South Korea or North Korea. So the Korean food here is it's just next level. Korean barbecue. They like, because everyone's competing, they're always trying to like they're trying to outdo each other. And that is phenomenal for me.
Imagine just random Korean chefs beefing with each other.
It's like the scene. There's like a whole thing. It's very competitive. It's so good. But yeah, I like, just different food types are just slightly different. But I think it has a lot to do with, like, I think LA has honestly like better quality produce. There's just a ton of farms, and there's a lot of, the growing seasons are longer, obviously, because it's warmer in SoCal. But yeah, I feel like the one thing that I was just talking to Rick about this. I was like, I just want like a juicy big burger. Like, I don't want it to be skinny LA. I don't want it to have sprouts on it. And I don't want it
Who the fuck is putting sprouts on burgers?
LA. California.
Yo, LA, get your shit together.
I just miss it. That's all. But everything else, I'll probably say that, like, pizza, it might also be something that is a bit of a problem. But I also don't do deep dish, so Chicago is not my pizza home. I know. I'm sorry. What the fuck are you doing? I'm severely lactose intolerant, and it was just too much. It was like, there's not enough lactate in the world for me to survive this life.
Then you take the pain. Everything about Chicago is just suffering, and you know that. That's
very true. The Midwest is just suffering made polite, and I just couldn't hack it anymore. I'm sorry. I can't.
It's suffering, but in ope.
Yeah.
Ope.
Yep.
It's oppression. If we like it.
I hate that so much. That is so good. Put that on a t-shirt. Yeah. Deep dish is a casserole. That is correct. It is.
Like, we're not doing this. All right. Deep dish is not a casserole. It's a pizza. The rest of your pizzas are just charcuterie boards. All right. Don't get mad at Chicago because we're the only ones that got pizzas right, and the rest of y'all cooking Lunchables.
I mean, even the thin crust Chicago pizza is really good, though. Like the tavern style stuff.
Yes. We also lived next to Peace because we lived in Wicker Park. And that was like for like a couple months during the pandemic, that was our like sad weekend food. Cause like we had no plans. We couldn't see friends. We couldn't see family. So we would just get like giant pizzas, like a growler of beer. And like that was our weekend plan.
I got half of the chat coming at me because of this pizza thing. I will fight all of you. I feel like I'm the only Chicagoan that actually loves deep dish. My city has abandoned me.
Yeah, the city, God, the weather, like Chicago just takes from you so much.
It took my car.
What?
Yeah, fucking Gordon Lightfoot, fucker. So anyway, so one of the things I think I want people to know about you the most is just how into comedy you are, just in general, from improv to like writing. So tell us about some of the things that you're proudest of. Like what's some of the projects that like are your biggest flex?
Oh, geez, I don't know if I have any flexes. Comedy is pain and sorrow and suffering, which is why Chicago is so good at comedy. That's a hill I'm willing to die on.
You have to be able to laugh at yourselves when everything is terrible.
Absolutely, right? Like, it's just, comedy is just like, I need validation from strangers, and that's a perfectly fine way of living, Some people have natural serotonin. I get mine from a crowd, and that's okay too, right? Let's Ina Garten that shit.
Listen, if you can't provide your own serotonin, store-bought is fine.
Absolutely. I do love comedy, and comedy is like the stuff that like lights me up. I eat, breathe, live comedy, and that's what I used to do in Chicago for like quite a few years. I don't think I have any huge flexes. I am right now like a managing editor of Funnyish.com, which is a comedy website where, we publish a lot of short form comedy, satire, all that good stuff. So if there's any aspiring comedy writers out there, please send me your things. I mean that really, because I think somehow someone we got on some kind of like weird like alt-right comedy like email shit, and people have been sending like the worst possible people are sending me videos of their stand-up, and it is
God.
Yeah, and it's always like the Jews, and I'm like, I'm not opening this is wrong, I hate, how did we get on this listserv? Anyways, please, for me, if anyone's out there writing comedy, send me your things. I just want to publish them, give them good homes.
Maturity is knowing that no one should see your stand-up.
Like, talk about just like, you know what? I got to give it to you. That takes like the egregiousness of such an ego. Like, this is why like white men get further in comedy, right? They don't think about, should I stop? They're just like, nah, everyone needs to see this send.
Like, okay, you're absolutely right. It takes a certain level of audacity to do stand up. I can tell you about
better at audacity than white men, though.
Yes, they lock down on that one.
They have cornered the market on audacity.
Because I don't know how they don't get in their own heads with like. Because stand-up should teach you self-awareness. Like, you should be able to tell when you're bombing, and like when maybe something you said was a little... Wow, what a timely discussion we're about to have. You should be able to tell when maybe one of your jokes is less funny and more malicious than you thought. And you should be able to adjust that on the fly. Like, I had a series of jokes that I thought were hilarious. I don't, like, looking back in retrospect, maybe not so much. And I still remember the show where I understood, like, maybe this gets out of rotation. And it's like, it was in like slow-mo. Like, I still remember to this day, this lady was glaring daggers at me while eating nachos. And like the memory of that is still so clear in my head, because she never took her eyes off me, but flawlessly brought a whole chip covered with like all the toppings to her mouth. Not a lick of cheese or anything got anywhere other than in the gullet. And I'm like, she's good at hating me. Like,
yeah.
She knows exactly how to hate my guts right now. And that's impressive.
A+ for hate. I mean, minus pluses for everything else, but that's a good game of damn. I don't even think I can eat nachos cleanly while I'm like looking at nachos. Like,
the more I went into the joke, the more upset she got. Like, you've done improv, so you know like when the audience is with you and when they're not.
When you bomb,
oh my god,
bomb.
That shows who you really are inside when you're bombing. Because I've met the most meek, quiet people that it's like you think that they're emotionally fragile, and I've seen them in the middle of a bomb and they give you the look like we're aiming this at the ground. Fuck it, if we're going down, I'm taking everybody with me.
Yep.
I love those people because they're the ones that inspire you in the midst of the bomb to just be like, fuck it.
Yep. And I have been there. Like, I have been on stage just knowing like, shit, this is not my night. Like, whether it's because of me, the audience. Oh my gosh. So I did a lot of like IO and Second City stuff, and I was like on Harold teams at IO. I know. I practically, I should have paid them like rent because that's how often I was there. And
Jesus.
Sunday nights were always the worst because for some reason we would get the most random crowds. Like there was a bachelorette party Sunday night at like 11 p.m. Like, why? How? What? And you could tell she had the sash and everything and a penis straw hat. And I was like, this is not a good show. This shit's not gonna be good. This is not my night, you know?
Did they do the penis suggestion? I love when they do the penis suggestion.
No, they were silent the entire time.
Okay.
Not a single laugh from that corner. Nothing hit. It was amazing. I was like, something like I wasn't the only person on that night, if I remember correctly. And it was like a show that I was like doing just like as a favor for a friend, basically. And they were like, just, can you please drop in? I'm like, of course, anytime. Right. I live close by and I'll whatever. Not a single laugh. And I remember being like, oh, I see how this is. Okay, let's play. If no one's going to laugh at me, I'm going to laugh at me. Because again, we get our serotonin from all sorts of places.
Sharif has a question for you all.
Oh, yes.
Sharif wants to know, Shu, what are your thoughts on amateur comedy nights? He used to go to them a lot and could never tell if he should feel bad for a new comic that is bombing.
Okay, I have some thoughts because this is where I think like improv and stand-up are two, it's like right hand, left hand, right? They're different. They run parallel to each other. They can work in tandem. Very few people can do both very well. I am definitely much more on the improv side. I think like all improv is basically amateur comedy night. Like every single improv show is basically amateur comedy night because you've never tested these jokes before. Everything is new. And that's like a beauty in and of itself. Probably takes like, I think because improvisers understand that, like they're a little bit kinder. Also, they're all like, you know, theater people. So like, you know, like things are just different in that realm. Stand up is like a fight for your life, like hang on to a lifeboat. No one here is nice to you. And you have to prove yourself to the audience, to the bookers. I did not enjoy this open mic scene in Chicago at all. Let me explain to you my first open mic night that I had ever done. First of all, I was terrified. I was kind of in that like usually when you start improv, you're like, this is great. Everything's great. I've met so many great people and we're going to do shows forever. And then you are like scheduling things and then you're like doing stuff and you just realize at some point you're like, I just want to perform as me. You know, and I think stand-up is phenomenal for that. It forces you to write. It forces you to be out of your comfort zone. It forces you to focus on like, what is my voice and brand? So I was like, cool, this is what I'm going to do. So I found one that was close to my house. And I had seen some of these people kind of floating around the comedy scene. So I was like, okay, they're not strangers. So I showed up and it was a 10 p.m. open mic. Okay, so I put my name down and I'm like, this is fine. I'm like, you know, like the 10 person here, you know, that's like an hour in, everyone gets 5 minutes, right? What I did not know is that open mic nights are like open drop-in nights. So people in Chicago will basically do like a tour. They'll start in basically Skokie or Evanston. Mm-hmm. They'll do a 5-minute set there. They'll hit Uptown. They'll hit Wicker Park, and then they'll go to the South Side, or they'll like wrap around. Like there's so many different open mics that if you
Comedy Shrine, Zany's, yes. Laugh Factory, Lincoln Lodge, just do the circuit.
Yep, you could, if you are really like trying to do in the old days, in the pre-pandemic times, if you are really trying to do comedy, like you could find it, right? So tons of people dropped in. So it's now midnight and I have to work the next day because I still had a 9 to 5. And I'm like, fuck, I'm going to forget all my jokes. Like I didn't memorize this. Like I don't know what I'm doing. And just before, this guy's like, hey, so I've never seen you. This is your first time here. And I was like, this is my first time doing stand-up ever. And this guy was like, okay. So he like welcomed me to this. Let me set the scene. I'm the only woman. I'm the only person of color. There are 20 white dudes at this open mic. And I did not get a single laugh my entire 5-minute set. But that's because I was like, okay, this was like right around the time when like John Cena, I had like a whole bit about John Cena speaking Mandarin. And while I was like, I was critiquing his Mandarin and being like, this is good. Not a single thing. And then this was my mistake. I got kind of mad. And
oh no.
This is on me. Okay. And I started out like the second portion of my set by basically being like, so what's up with guys and dick pics? And just dead silence pin. And I was like, because the human dick is just not even that impressive. And I list off like animal dick facts that I know. These are barely jokes, but I'm just saying the praying mantis has a ginormous one, and percentage wise, and just going down and down and down and down. No laughter, no smiles. Everyone there was just sitting there being like, what about my penis? And I left at 1 a.m., had a cigarette, and then immediately went to bed. And I was like, this can never happen again.
I bombed, but I made a whole lot of comics insecure that night.
Yes. And I'm really glad I didn't ask, hey, I also asked, like, has anyone here received a dick pic, forgetting that they were all white men? What I should have asked was, who sent a dick pic, and then proceeded to barrage them. Anyway.
Files away that Shu has a mental Rolodex of animal dick facts.
Don't say it like that, Sharif. Don't say it like that. That sounds weird, and it's not. It's not weird. Ignore that my background is a bunch of rats. It is not weird.
Dick facts.
Coming this fall to NBC.
I mean, you brought me a moment of nostalgia talking about the tour, because I started doing stand up in the burbs, and then I'm like I got a little cocky, and I'm like, I'm coming to the city, like, and my first time doing stand up in the city was at the Laugh Factory. They have their open mic on Wednesday. I'm like, I got there early. I put my name on the list because with stand up, if you don't get early on the list, then you don't get your 5 minutes.
Yes. You have to be like first 5.
Yeah, you have to fight for it. So I was there early. I was sitting there, and again, like you said, it's just a barrage of white guys. And this one black dude tapped me on the shoulder. He was just like, you going up? I was like, yeah. It's like, I ain't seen you before. You new here? I was like, yeah. He was like, don't go. And I'm like, what? He's like, don't go up. I was like, why? He was like, he's here. And he points to this guy who's obviously, who's very clearly homeless. And he had a backpack full of shit, just full of random stuff. And I'm like, what does that have to do with me? So the first guy gets up, and he's okay. He's kind of funny. But the second there's a lull in his comedy, this homeless dude is roasting the life out of him. So it's this very weird thing where the comedian is getting laughs, but this homeless guy is getting like bigger laughs. And you see the comedian trying to fight back and get the crowd back. And then the second guy goes up. This guy straight up sucks. And the homeless guy is just cooking his ass for his entire 5 minutes. Now, I'm number 4 on the list. Number 3 is the homeless guy. He gets up there and gets up, lowers the microphone, sits down, crisscross applesauce, opens up his bag, and just starts pulling shit out. And like the first thing he pulled out was like a mannequin foot. And he just riffed on it. And it was fucking hilarious. And then he just tosses it. And then he pulls out like a Ziploc bag of like rotten sandwiches, riffs on it. It's hilarious. Tosses it. Everybody's just losing their shit over this guy. Then I get up.
Oh no!
Oh no! You had to follow that.
You had to follow mannequin and rotten sandwich man? No.
Well, here's the thing. He got off the stage, but left all his shit on the stage. So I'm up there and I'm like smelling rotten sandwiches and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do my set. And like, I see him in the audience and he's looking at me. I'm looking at him and I know like, game on. So I start to do the prepared material and immediately this motherfucker, like I often do self-depreciating comedy, right? Like I call myself like I look like a burnt Mr. Potato Head that rolled down a swamp. That's my favorite joke that I've ever said about myself, and I'm going to expose myself. I got that from him. He cooked my ass for 5 minutes straight. He cooked me so hard. But he was cooking me in such a way that I was like, I can't do anything. So I'm just going to steal. I'm just going to steal this from you.
Wow.
So, yeah, so Chicago stand-up is weird. And how do you feel about bombing? Everybody's supposed to bomb. That is part of stand-up. So...
Yep. My second, I was thinking about, like, I was checking out this open mic. I was like, oh, I'm thinking about it. It was like semi-famous. It was at Cole's. And Hannibal Buress shows up and drops in and does a 15-minute set. And I'm like, no, I can never be here. I can never perform here. Because the idea of like a comedy idol of mine seeing me while I'm like talking about animal dicks on stage can't happen. Not. So yeah, it's you know what? I almost miss it. Yeah. I just, yeah.
I'm just noticing how much of the same road we've traveled. I also have a Hannibal Buress story.
Every Chicago comedian has a Hannibal Buress story of like, and then dude just showed up. He was just at his high school.
He just appears. I hate. Okay, so I was doing a DIY show. With DIY shows, like there are a bunch of people in Chicago who like use their apartments as venues for like music and stand up and all that good stuff. So I was there for a comedy night. I do my set, and this was after a bitter, not divorce, but a bitter breakup. And so a lot of my jokes are like about the breakup. And Hannibal shows up. Nobody's paying attention to my set anymore. They're all just kind of looking at Hannibal, talking to Hannibal. I'm like, you know what? That's fine. It's fucking Hannibal Buress. So then I go over to talk to Hannibal, and like I'm still in sad boy mode. So I think I was talking about my ex too much. And he goes, "Hey, buddy, you're real cool, but you're sad, so I'm gonna go."
I think that if you ever make a website, yeah.
I want that quoted.
I would that's like my fear is that because the thing with stand-ups is it's like they're like 15-year-old girls. They just know exactly your
what to
weakness.
say.
They will hone in on it, and they're just gonna just go for it, and they don't care. They don't care. They're like, oh, you're hurting? I'm gonna dig in, and like that's very admirable. It's something I love about stand up, but oh my god, the idea of that happening to me, I'm just like physically recoiled.
But I mean, the main takeaway here is that Hannibal Buress called you cool
and sad,
and sad.
But mostly
both
cool.
The things are true.
Yeah, so.
It's the I'm gonna go that made me so that impressed me so much because I was like, I didn't know you could do that in a conversation. Like, I don't want to talk to you anymore because you're miserable. So I'm going that way. Don't follow. Like, I have to say though, like the Chicago, I don't know about the stand-up scene anywhere else, but I do know the Chicago stand-up scene is very not cool to women and to femme presenting individuals. There is a LGBTQA plus comedy scene that's amazing, but they are naturally very protective over their scene. So I did not fuck with them because they would cook me to death. But I have to say, like the female comedians here are kind of like grizzled because they've had to deal with so much shit. So like a lot of the cooking that I've seen that has happened, like the worst cooking has been them just shutting down people coming at them like, oh, so do you need any tips? Like that's the line that gets them cooked the hardest that I've seen. So do you need any tips? You want any advice on stand up?
Yeah, there's something about being a female comedian, and particularly in like very male dominated spaces where like you can't fuck with female stand-up artists. Like you will never knock them off kilter. Like they're like that wobble toy. They're just gonna come back to center, and they're just like, yeah, exactly. Like they're just like, oh, I'm sorry. What did you say to me? Oh, I'm gonna find your weakness, isolate it, and I'm gonna crush you and make you watch it. And
it's like, see, the difference between you and me is when I tell jokes, people actually laugh.
yeah, they're so good. Like, and they're fearful, and they're always really hot, and they're always just like great. So God, this almost makes me miss the before times. You know what I mean? Because LA is very different. And again, I don't really do stand up. I mostly do sketch and improv. And Corson had a question about that, so I'll get back to you later, Corson. I didn't miss that. You know, I miss like it's just different out here, you know. And there's a little. It feels like people in LA, everyone's just trying to get a job, you know. Versus there were no jobs in Chicago, so that just wasn't a thing. Like you weren't trying to get seen, you were just trying to get 5 minutes. And that
you do it for the love of the game, baby.
Exactly. And that changes how you play, whether that's improv or I think how you present as stand-up. It's so funny. I actually watch like the vast majority of comedy that I watch is stand-up. Like I consume almost predominantly stand-up. I very, very rarely watch improv. That is a choice, and I stick by that, and I recommend that to anybody.
Improv is hard to watch.
I just, unless it's like the best improv unless it might be the best improv I've ever seen, I won't even bother with it. Cause like, I'm just at a point now where I'm just like, I feel like I'm so jaded with comedy. I'm just like, yeah, I can see that joke. Yeah, structure. Yep. Yeah, good whoosh. Okay. Like, and you don't want that. Yeah. You guys don't want that. Like, you don't want me in your audience when you watch improv. Like,
just deconstruct the entire set.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Like, but yeah. So to Corson's question, Corson asked, thoughts on sketch versus improv. And I'm actually curious to know your thoughts on this, Noir and Anita. Like, because I feel like, here's my thoughts. I think that sketch is a much better skill to use because it's so much more applicable. I think improv is something you have to love for improv in and of its own, because you will never get a fucking job from improv. And while it's a great skill, if you don't love improv just for the sake of improv, like that's miserable. You're going to be miserable because it's just going to be a lot of like, it's just so much whooshing. Like you have to love it because grown adults are whooshing on stage. Like that's just, how do you respect that, right?
You're absolutely right. I've never played more Zip Zap Zop. So my thoughts on it are absolutely the same. Sketch versus improv, you're stretching two entirely different muscles. I think there is a certain personality type that thrives in improv versus thriving in sketch comedy. Because sketch comedy to me requires a lot more mental fortitude than improv. Improv, you can do well if you don't have impulse control, as long as you're clever. But if you don't have impulse control, then I feel, will suffer in sketch comedy, because it's the ability to take a joke and deconstruct it and reconstruct it. That thing that you say, like, you don't want me in the audience because I can do that. That is, I can't tell you the number of improvisers that I've played with that miss such obvious shit. Like, I can't deconstruct a joke, but you should still be able to see basic shit coming. And I've seen a lot of it just whoosh go over their heads. So I've got a lot of respect for sketch comedy writers, because that is, I mean, you got to think about it. It's taking something that's meant to make you laugh and it's writing it down. Like, it's like taking all the ha and just putting it to boring words. Like, I'm describing this poorly, but yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
My thought is that sketch is being able to take a joke and focus on the right portion of that joke. Whereas there's a lot of people that do improv that will focus on the wrong portion of the joke.
Yes.
We call it the penguin effect. Where
Code Penguin.
We call it Code Penguin, and we find this a lot in role-playing games, where there is someone who is like at your table who will focus on one specific portion of a joke and then continue to stretch it out throughout the entire scene. But that's not the right portion of the joke that you should be focusing on. It's like, oh, so I walk into the room and there is a table, some chairs, and there's a man behind the desk. And someone else will come in and be like, and there's a penguin. But then they'll continue the scene and they'll tell you, okay, so the man behind the desk is asking if you would like to help them with this certain task. And then the next person comes in, and the penguin is there too. And then it just keeps going on. But where a sketch is focusing on the correct portion of that scene, which is the man behind the desk who is asking you for assistance with a task, no matter how silly or mundane, someone will start focusing on the penguin.
Our penguin people are, instead of yes and, they're like, no this.
No but.
Penguin waddle now. Yeah.
I promise y'all, this penguin bit is going to be funny. You just got to stick with it.
Yeah. Sketch is so different. It just requires a completely different muscle. Like when I write comedy versus when I am performing improv, like those are different cylinders in my brain pumping, right? Like when I'm writing, especially if I'm writing like a short form or satire piece, like I'm essentially like doing beat sheets, figuring it out. I do a lot of like writing on page. I'm like a multi-draft person. Like I'll write a lot of drafts because I tend to do better when I like throw spaghetti on the wall, see what sticks, and then move forward. Versus, when I improvise, it's just whatever. It's just, you're feeling your way through it and you're just yes-anding and you're like, wow, look, there's a penguin. Oh my God. Like,
yeah, see, that's the thing is like, there's throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what sticks, but then there's throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what sticks, and then still trying to pick up the pieces that did not stick and trying to throw them at the wall again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to ask, what's it like writing for other people like that? I think that's one of the things in sketch comedy that I have the hardest time with, which is like writing words that someone else will say.
I'm surprised to hear that because I don't think it's probably all that different from being like a GM, honestly. Like you are writing essentially for a character, I will say that I am someone who, maybe it's like the acting or whatever it is, but like I try very, very hard to make all of my characters distinct. So it's basically you're just writing for a character and just being like, what would this character say? So, you know, a lot of times when someone is like, hey, like, how do you like heighten something? What you're really doing is expanding the world, right? Like, if this is true, what else? If you have a guy who brings a penguin to an office, what else is true about this? Is it a Mr. Popper situation? Is he stealing the penguin? Is he the penguin from Batman? You know what I mean? And like, if this is true, other things have to be true because there should probably still be rules and like reality and something in that sketch world. It's just you have to create those rules, right?
Right.
So that's what I think.
Building a narrative.
Exactly. And so being able to be very specific about like, oh, so there's this character. Okay, there's this character and does this. And there's character and he likes pancakes. Character likes pancakes. What does that mean? He likes breakfast food. What else about breakfast food? He really likes a diner food. You know, like you just expand it. And then I find that the more specific my characters are, the better I can write them. I also think it really helps that like I've had tremendous luck in being able to work with some like really great talented writers, including Carson, who like were like I knew their voice so well and I knew who they were so well that I could just distill it on like page. I was like, oh, this is totally a them joke. And they would write for me the same way. They're like, oh, that is a shoe joke, you know, so many animal dicks. Like that's a her thing right there. And
we are going to get to the core of this whole animal dick thing before this episode is over. I'm just saying, but
here's my question for you though. Did they call jokes that they wrote for you shoe-ins?
No, but that's so good. That's so good. God, no one did that for.
Now they have to be called shoe-ins.
I think so. Yeah, that's great.
Noir's leaving. They do not like it when I pun.
That's so great. These aren't any worse than the puns that I make at all times. No, you know what? That's fair. This is on us. I get it.
This is what happens when you invite two people that like to pun onto a show with a person that does not.
Yeah.
Eventually, they just walk away from you. You can't leave this. You can't abandon this.
Yeah, we're just here for the punnies.
Oh, don't do this. Okay, back on top. Let me ask a question. Fuck this. Okay, let me ask you, what was your most awkward moment on stage when you were improvising?
We're going to be here for 3 years.
I've got one that's going to make everyone cringe so hard.
Oh, no.
I'm trying to think of like a super specific awkward moment. Mm-hmm. I think probably the most awkward moments were when someone said something like accidentally, they didn't intend for it to be, but it was like a racist thing. You know what I mean?
That's mine
like,
too.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're good at math. And I'm like, okay. And those are really, or like when it's even worse, I think, honestly, when like a teacher says it, because like you're not really in like a position to necessarily like push back on that as much. And so like those were always the times when I was just like, fuck me. But the thing with being a woman of color, particularly like in the improv world, you get really, really good at turning things on them. And by them, I mean like it's mostly dudes, right? And it's mostly white dudes as well. And so I feel like I learned skills very quickly to shut that down, turn it around. They would get so mad sometimes, but you know, like that's just like a, you know, like I'm not responsible for their reaction, right? Yeah. So like those were always the weirder times for me. I will say that because of things like that, I think I became a much more aggressive player. Like I had to come out like with like bigger energy because I could not assume that anybody would ever tag me in. I could not assume that I was ever going to be anything other than a fucking girlfriend, wife, or mom. Those are only three, like, you know, like that's it. And like, it was always, you just had to get really good at taking care of yourself on stage because you could not trust other people, especially if you didn't know well.
Yeah, I feel that so hard, and that goes into my cringy moment. And like, I took a lot of the same lessons away from it that you did. And we started our improv show, and the suggestion was Abraham Lincoln, and you can kind of already see the clusterfuck that this is gonna become. Nope. So what? The oldest white guy who had like the George Jefferson hair, where it's like his hair is like a horseshoe on his head, and again, yes, the flannel. He goes up and he's Abraham Lincoln, and then he pulls me up. He pulls me in, and I'm immediately like, no. And so like he pulls me up, and I'm just like, I'm Frederick Douglass, because I'm like, I am not trusting you to assign me something. And then the first words out of this old white guy's mouth is, we got to do something about the slaves. And I'm like, all right, here we go. We're doing this dance. And it's very much the same thing that you're talking about, where I think people of color have I know we have an edge because there is that lack of trust. Like, we can't depend on like if I'm doing a comedy jam, I've got to like, half of my thought process has to be on protecting myself, and the other half has to be on trying to be funny. And that seems like a burden, and it is, but it also sharpens your wit a bit. The rest of that sketch from there was a clusterfuck, but I did manage to just turn it into a shaming session for the next 15 minutes, where it's just like, wow, look at all the ways you benefit from this horrendous thing you're allowing to happen. And it was just, but it took all my brain power to go, how do I turn this funny, make it so I'm less uncomfortable, and create an exit for myself? Like, you have to do all that at the same time, and it's
why I stopped doing jams. I literally had to stop, because at some point I'm like, this is not productive for me. Like, I want stage time. You know, like at some point you got to sit there and be like, I don't want stage time with you. Like, I don't want this. But I think that's also part of like, and you know, I actually think that like the TTRPG scene and improv like are very similar in how they feel for me, because it's like relatively the same cylinders probably. Mm-hmm. You have to find the pocket of like POC, of women, of femme, like of queer folks, like whoever. You have to find your like a grouping, because I felt like once I found that, and once I became so much more comfortable in like my identity and what I wanted to say, that's when I started doing better work. And that's when I started not just trying to like work for laughs, but trying to dig in deep of like, what am I trying to say? Like, what do I want this audience to come away with? And I think, you know, it takes time to find people, unless you are just really lucky and you got dropped in, as I did with the TTRPG stuff. But like, it usually takes a really long time to try and find that space. And then once you do, you kind of just flourish, right? You're like that houseplant. You're like, oh, sun at last, and you like grow little tendrils.
I mean, I find that the TTRPG scene and the improv scene overlap in a lot of ways, especially in the meta of it all. Like, when we're at our best, it's in a lot of the same ways that improv is in its best. And when we're at our worst, it's a lot of the same ways that improv is at its worst, like clicks and people taking advantage of clout. You know, the person that went to LA did pretty well, comes back to Chicago and is just a dick about it. I hated that person back in my improv days, by the way. The person that went to New York or LA had a little bit of success, came back to Chicago, and just like, I'm hot shit, and kind of ducks on everybody. Like, sorry, a lot of my own biases are just coming out. But there's a lot of overlap between the TTRPG community and the in the improv scene, and it's kind of been interesting to watch, for sure.
Yeah, I would not have thought so, but like I started doing like TTRPGs essentially like basically during the pandemic. And before that, I had never done anything before. And it really took just like kind people to be like, yo, you want to join our D&D group? And I'm like, hell yeah, I do. And so it was great for me because that like helped fill that like want and that urge and like the improv, like it scratched the improv itch because, you know, that's where I feel like a lot of improvisers shine so well is they're just like, you could throw anything at me and I will make it part of the narrative. I will yes and it. I will remember it. I will embed it into the story. And so like that, yeah, I totally feel the same way of like, I feel like the Venn diagram of like people who are into improv and people who are into this, it's probably like a close circle. You know what I mean? There's like probably little skinny half moons on the side that are like, ooh, I only do one or the other. But like, it has to be like, it has to like touch the same portions of the brain or something like that, you know?
Yeah. You know, and very much like how when Whose Line started getting big and there was a resurgence into the improv scene, like especially when they brought it back, there was this wave of people that joined in improv, because that's about the time that I was doing it. I feel like Critical Role, like it's in Variety now, and like, you know, Variety magazine and like Dimension 20 getting bigger. I feel like that's kind of lit a beacon to a lot of the same people who like went to improv because it was getting big, and they're kind of jumping into the D&D or TTRPG pool the same way. And that's not neither good or bad. I'm just it just brings with it a type of personality that I think we're going to see a lot more of in this space. And you know, I always tell people to be wary because if you go to jump into improv, you're not going to be on Saturday Night Live. Like it's not gonna happen. And if you join to like be on the next Critical Role, again, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yes.
So, Shu, your background is in comedy, in writing, and improv, and all those things. What do you think is the most underrated skill that applies to TTRPGs?
Ooh.
Because we always talk about how like improv prepares you to like yes and your way through a scene and to add things to a narrative in a constructive way. I want to know, what do you think is an underrated skill that comedy and that has taught you for playing games?
This is a great question. I think the skill that I rarely hear talk about is when I am doing an improv show, there is a portion of my brain that's like just for jokes and ha-has, a portion of my brain of being like, okay, someone's going to say something racist to me. But there's also a portion of my brain that is like keeping track of all of the things that people have said and how it can do this overarching narrative, especially if you're doing something long form like the Herald. I'm so sorry to talk about the Herald for everybody who hates it. You have to remember and to know like, where am I in this form and how do I collapse it on in the end, right? And like I had great improv teachers who were very much like, you're not going to get everything, just catch 3 fish, like catch 3 things and make sure that you like have that and then bring it to the end. And if every single one of the players does that, like you will be able to cast a really wide net and be able to just like push it forward, and your final act will be hysterical. When I am playing a game, there's a portion of my brain that's like, okay, so where are we in the story? Where do we have to go? Okay, so we're sitting there, we're at the alien ship. Okay, we got like, we've found this. This is like, you know, like this, the third act of this play structure that we've been doing. You know, what does this story need? And how can I better service the story? Because that's the same thing with improv. It's like, there are very funny people who are shit improvisers because they are not serving the story, they're serving themselves. And you played with them, and I'm sure we've all played with like character or like people who I'm just like, that was an interesting choice. Yeah, okay. But like when you serve the story, when you serve the narrative, like that is a skill that I feel like I had to learn from improv that has been strangely applicable to, you know, when I'm sitting at a table or when I'm on Zoom for TechBreak, for instance.
Mm-hmm. You know, I can recall you doing that specifically in TechBreak to massive effect, and it wasn't for a funny moment. It was actually a total tone change in the show where where your character made a decision that was wild.
Are you talking about the mom?
Yeah, that was wild. But you had peppered in mentions of your mom throughout the season, and when you made this decision, spoiler alert, we found a way to create life with paint. We made doppelpainters, and your character.
I want residuals on that.
You should get them.
Yeah. Your character recreated their mom who had passed, and it was just like
that made me cry. Like, real talk. I was just like,
God.
So it's amazing to see you use comedy techniques for such a massive dramatic moment. I guess what I'm trying to ask, but doing a very poor job of it, is like, does it take a lot of effort to take your comedy muscles and then just kind of use those skills to flip the switch into like more serious or like, you know, less comedy stuff? I'm good at this.
I think you're fine.
You're fine. It was seamless for me when I transitioned. Mm-hmm.
Like it was almost just like no question asked. And it felt like a lot of the things that I had been learning, like on my like acting career and in my improv and my sketch writing and all of that stuff, kind of all just like could be combined into like one thing. And that's what I find is like one of the more satisfying things about TTRPGs is like at the end of it, where you're like at the end of a session or at the end of a show, you know, like at the end of the adventure, you look around, you're just like, we made this together collectively as a story. That's improv, right? Like we created this thing, and everybody hopefully added in whatever dish they were making so that we can make this like delicious, beautiful soup at the end of the day. And I think for me, when I was thinking of that moment, so when I created Winter's character, I created this like entire backstory for her. And I was like, I don't know when this will come in handy, but I know it will, right? Like just having those cards in my back pocket. And so like, I wanted her to come to the table fully formed, and I wanted her to have like, flaws, because she's like a really sarcastic, mean person. You know what I mean? Like she'd be a terrifying 15-year-old if you met her.
She's like a horrifying neighbor. I can confirm that.
Exactly, right? Like, but like you had to create this character of like, well, what's her damage? Like, why does she do this? You know? And having that set up, and then I saw this thing that like Sharif had set up, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do it. And I think that like, just like in narrative, just like in, you know, writing, character drives plot. plot does not drive character, right? When you're writing a book, it has to be character focused choices, in my opinion, right? Some people may read for plot. I do not. And I think it's more interesting because that also forces you to create and write more interesting characters and more fully fleshed out people, and or dragons or demons or whatever, you know, like it forces you to create someone very 3D and real. And it also, if you ever have the chance to make like a big character decision, it feels more true, right? Everything that Winter had been talking about, like you knew she was super damaged. You knew that she had so much baggage from her mom. You knew that she never got to Paris and that her stepmom cut her out, and it was technically a tentacle monster. You know, like you had all these things. And then like, I was just really lucky that like I had a great group, as like Cherie, I knew that you guys were going to be okay. Right.
I can't tell you how much of a gift it is when a character makes a big move that is rooted in truth. I think that's what separates, you know, a big character driven decision versus the penguin. A penguin can be a massive tone and story change, but if it's coming from the aether, then it's nothing. But if it's rooted in who the character is, it's a gift to everybody that you're playing with, because it then forces the people that you're playing with to ask their character questions that you might not have been prepared to answer. And that gives, to me, a much more honest reaction, and so it adds depth to everybody you're playing with, all because one person was able to make that big move that makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was brilliant. I loved it because it's just like, what's the morality of creating recreating someone that's passed? Yeah. Like, that's a real thing. And to be in the mindset of children trying to figure this out, I couldn't have asked for something better. Yeah. So that was so sick.
That was so fun. That was such a fun thing. I love making someone laugh and then I want to make them cry. And like when that combo, I think, is so beautiful. And I feel like, you know, I feel like a lot of folks think, you know, comedy's comedy and drama's drama, and never the two shall mix. And what I find to be the most effective are like just after you do a laugh, you know, you're at ease, the audience is kind of leaned back. That's a great moment when you are a performer to be like, oh, I got you. I'm going to drop something in here. This is going to make you hurt. Maybe that's just me and I'm just a sadistic person, but whatever. Like I find that window really allows the audience to really just to be surprised, to be caught off guard, and to go with that. I think that's really lovely. And I want to see so much more of that in comedy, right? Where it's just like, it's really funny and then it's super serious, or drama that's like, this is like, you're laughing, but at the same time, you know, something terrible could happen at any point, right? Yeah. That's the shit that keeps you, if you know you're going to laugh consistently for 30 minutes, like you're not going to be on your toes. You're just like, aha, it's a comedy, la, 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 la. But now you have all of these different levers to play with, so that you can move the audience where you want to go, or move the narrative where you want to go, or shape it however you want. So I guess my like really, I'm so sorry to ramble on so long. I haven't.
No, that's what this show is for. This show is completely about ramble.
Yeah, like all of those things that I learned from comedy, I was able just to kind of just like drop it in when I started playing these games, and it just, for me, it was like a super simple transition. If anything, I think the hardest thing for PvD, like the tabletop stuff for me, is just like learning the rules or knowing specifically the dice. Like I love virtual dice because real dice gives me some like I'm not gonna lie, gives me some actual like, am I doing this right?
I have a question on that for you coming up here soon, but I do want to say you're one of my favorite players. And what you're saying is very reminiscent of what one of my favorite GMs said. We had Brennan Lee Mulligan on here, who was basically, like, to your point, was saying, like, anybody can make a sad scene sad. Like, anybody can, like, if the scene is set up to be sad and the situation is set up to be sad, then it's very easy to create sad. But to be able to create a very real and tender moment with, like, a cocksucking werewolf, like, that's the challenge. And, like, it very much reminds me of, like, what you're saying here, which is just, like, you should be able to have your drama and your comedy together. And it's like, it's much more rewarding if you just, it's much more rewarding if it's honest and you're doing both.
Because that's the thing, is like, that's kind of how life is like, there are moments where you are going to have, like, intense sadness, but you will find that one sort of nugget of comedy, like, in a terrible moment, in the worst moments of your life, you will find something that just tickles you for no reason. And that, I think that's part of the human experience, and that's why games are so amazing and are able to evoke those emotions.
And, you know, I'm kind of looking back on Techberg now, and, like, I'm remembering it with fondness, because a lot of our comedy came out of, like, these kids clearly over their heads doing the best they can, from Winter, like, being this Disney goth princess who's, like, all hardcore and edgy, but, like, on the inside is, like, a I'm not going to say a failed artist, but she didn't get into art school, that hurt. And amongst a bunch of other things. And you've got, like, Mana, who's, like, the mayor's daughter, who is, you know, trying to do her best to be this spiritual and enlightened individual. But deep down inside, there is this hardcore, violent person that's just being suppressed by all the spirituality. You know, and you've got Kaylee, who's, like, a little girl that escaped from a cult. So there's these kids that are just doing their best, but there's, like, real trauma behind them. And I feel like everybody is actually playing with that trauma. So we get these tender moments that are also hilarious, and I love that.
Yeah, I really do love our, like, Techberg crew. I was like when Bunny asked me to do it from Roll20, I was like, yeah, sure, of course. I never thought it'd be this, like, you know, we'd have 2 seasons or where we would keep going, and I had no idea. I was so new. I was like, I don't know, you know, how things are going or, like, what I'm doing. I hope I'm doing okay. I'm having fun. I don't know. So I'm so glad that we were all able to get together. I
had no idea you were new when we started, because you were just you were off the gates firing. So hell yeah.
That was like, that was like the 3rd game that I'd ever sat in on was, like, Techberg. Like, I literally was just very much like, I have no idea what's happening. And I just still like doing that, you know, like, I think D&D is one of the harder TTRPG games to just kind of pick up and go, because there's a lot of rules and lore and background. And so, like, when I play D&D, it's like homebrew with friends. And I'm very much like, and then I rolled this dice, right? Like, I don't know. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And if you're, like, a new person, just ask questions and just be honest, just being like, I don't fucking know. Someone please explain this to me.
That's a thing, to your credit, is even though you were absolutely brand new at this, from someone that has played a lot of RPGs, I could never tell. That's
mind-boggling to me.
You're just such a good improviser, and you're just such a good, like, storyteller in that respect, that I could never tell that was your 3rd time in an actual play or playing any game like that.
And you're so nice to me. I'm going to send you $20 afterwards. Thank you.
You're fine.
I'm going to give everybody that's watching this that may be interested in jumping in a TTRPG but is a little reluctant, I'm going to give y'all the secret sauce. I'm gonna let you in.
Please don't ever say the word sauce. I thought we agreed on this. Like,
I'm gonna give you the secret sauce.
There's been a moratorium on the word sauce.
Yeah, just blanket ban.
Especially the way that Noir says it.
Sauce.
No.
But here's the secret. The rules don't matter. Surprise, motherfuckers! I played systems that I still don't know how to play, like on stream. Like I full on did a Monster Hearts game. I ran a Monster Hearts game on stream 3 times. I don't know the rules. I don't understand the system. Pathfinder, I've done 2 Pathfinder streams. Couldn't tell you how to run it. Like, couldn't tell you what I was doing. Like, I just press buttons and sometimes shit happened. Like,
I just wrapped a Fear Itself campaign. I don't. You want to ask me the rules? I don't fucking know. I made them up most of the time.
I was just in a Fear Itself game with Bree. No idea how the system works.
Glad it's not just me. That honestly makes me feel so much better because I'm always in the background being like, okay, what is this happening? Like I'm very worried about like breaking a game because I don't understand how it works. So that actually makes me feel a lot better.
I did a full season of Outbreak Undead, right? I do not even know what the fuck is on the character sheet. It makes no sense to me. I played a game called Faded Sun. I don't know how it works. Like, but that's the secret. Just do it. Just do it. Have fun. And if you're at a table that makes you feel bad for not knowing the rules,
find a new table.
I've got news for you. It's not you that's the problem. It's the table. Because if the table can't help you out enough to be able to tell the story, then fuck them. Rules should not be a gate that keeps you out of TTRPG. It should not be. I don't know the rules for half the shit I play, but I still play it, tell a fun story, have a good time. So, with that being said, we're gonna get into some of the questions that we ask on the first half of the show because we have been slacking.
Listen, all I want to know is does the pug have bones? Is it a bones day?
Is it a bones day?
I don't know. There's no update so far on whether or not it's a bones day.
Is there a Twitter for this yet?
No, not yet. I've been refreshing the TikTok to see if there's been a bones day.
Anyway, so sorry. We're easily distracted here because we're not professional.
And we both have ADHD.
There's a war going on in the TTRPG community.
Okay.
Right? Between those who think that dice are to be crunched, which is to put it in your mouth, you just kind of chew on it, versus those of us that think that you don't put these in your goddamn mouth because it's gross. Right? We call ourselves Stop the Crunchers. So the question is, Shu, do you crunch your die?
Absolutely not. Oh my God, the germs of that alone. Like, your hands are like the most dirty part of you, right? Like your hands and your mouth are the repository of the germs on your body.
I only know half the things my hands are up to, and I'm disgusted.
Yeah, I would not do that. I'm actually a huge fan of virtual dice, which probably makes me like very different than most people because it's clean, it's easy, and that's why Al Gore made the internet on Google so I could press on Google, roll a die. It does my math for me. I am very lazy. I would never put dice in my mouth. That's
disgusting. You're right. You are correct to be as disgusted as you are.
Noir, why don't you know what your hands are doing?
I don't. You know what? Don't ask questions you're not ready for the answers to.
That was chat would like to know. Bo would like to know.
Bo, some things aren't for the internet.
Oh, that's a private conversation. This is an outdoor. Okay.
What are they doing now?
You know,
is the question.
Yeah, hands check. Let's go.
Hands check.
My hands are right now. They're behaving themselves, but who knows what they'll get into later.
Show me your hands, Noir.
Where's the GM, actually?
I feel I owe several people an apology. You mean to tell me you live your life knowing what your hands are up to at all times? Couldn't
I
be
mean,
me.
sometimes you're sleeping and you don't know what your hands get up to when you sleep.
There was I know where my hands are at all times. I think it's just you two. Like, super confident. I know where my hands are at all times. And
okay, so
I guess I'm the called Idle Hands, where hands are possessed. Yeah, I think that is a movie, Janie.
I guess I'm the only one that's accidentally woken up choking somebody. Okay, fine.
Good to know. Good to know. Wow, brunching with Noir and Nelly is going to be super interesting.
Anyways, on that note, do we want to take a quick...
My mind took it to a place. And I'm just like, I can't say that on the internet. But I'm going to. And I'm so sorry in advance. Just at brunch, jerking off the waiter like, don't mind me, sometimes my hand just does things. I'm so sorry.
You can disappoint me, but you can't disappoint Kaylee, okay? I'm just gonna throw that out there because I don't think I can see that yet. He'll give you the sad face, and I'm sorry, we can't be having that.
She's got Disney princess eyes. If
she does.
Kaylee also has that energy, this energy about her, where it's just like, I don't want to disappoint Kaylee.
Yeah. I would feel
kind of like that mom friend energy.
Yes, so much so.
Every time she hit me with the "oh buddy," like I felt that.
Yeah, it's like right there. There was a reason why we made the "oh buddy" command in the chat.
You wouldn't be the first guy in West Hollywood to jerk off the brush.
Oh, buddy.
Am I brunching differently than everybody else? Like, I'll be honest though. Like,
these mimosas are fantastic.
Yeah. LA's very weird. Yeah, no, it's definitely just very weird. I could see it. And that makes me sad.
There's a reason why it's called Holly Weird.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to leave a tip. All right, so I've got one more question before we take our break.
Bo, I need to go to West Hollywood, apparently.
Oh my God.
I'm so sorry. If you could play any TTRPG with any 5 people that are alive right now, any 5, and you get to choose who's the GM as well, who would you play with? Like some of our previous answers, like for me, it was like I'd want to play with like Michelle Obama, Ava DuVernay, Chris Rock. Can't say you can't. I gotta get rid of Chappelle because he fucked that up for me. I'm so sick of my heroes disappointing me.
That one
hurt.
Oh my God.
That one hurt real hard. Half my personality is quoting the Chappelle show, and I can't do that shit anymore. Just fuck me sideways.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where you're just like, are you kidding me?
The whole time I was watching it, like, stop.
I think sometimes we forget that like a lot of our favorite comedians are also just like boomers, and they're just people. They're very fallible, and I hope they grow. But man, I'm trying to think about like people that I would play with. I would rather play with. You know what I would love to do? I'd love to play with people who've never played before, who are like really shy about it. Like not anyone famous, just like people who are just like, I don't know what to do. I would love to play with them because I think there's a lot of people who are just kind of like sitting in the wings of this like incredible of the gaming world of like they're just like waiting for someone to tag them in. And I just want to tag them in. I just want to be like, come play. Like let's have some fun. Like, I will not bite. I promise you. I mean, I've never GM'd, but I'd be thrilled to. And I joke all the time that I'd be the most terrifying GM. But I think in the end, I'd be like you said, it's not about the system. It's not about the rules. It just be fun. And I really would love just to be like I see this all the time on Twitter of like, hey, does anybody want to play this? Or like on Reddit, just being like, someone like, hey, I would love to play at the table. Like things like that. I love it. Just like, I just want to give everybody cake and rainbows and just like, I just think it's really important. Like that's tragically me at my core.
She doesn't even go here.
Literally, like that's me. It's like, I just wish we could everyone else need some cake.
No, I completely feel that. There was a TikTok that broke my heart, which was just like, are there any ladies that are playing TTRPG? Because I'm sick of playing with guys. And I'm just like, oh, I can't respond to this at all.
TikTok grabbed her and just like, it was like, come with us. all the femme GMs on TikTok were just like, here, come on, let's go this way.
Yeah, I see it all the time, and I want people who are in the wings to understand I didn't start doing this until like a year ago. I am a year into this. I'm having so much fun. I'm so glad I discovered this. I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this. This is incredible, right? Like you're offering me money for something I do with joy. I'm sorry, my comedian brain just broke. I don't understand what's happening. Like if you are new, come in, the water is fine. Like just wade in gently and you will find people. You really will. So I think Cherie, y'all getting paid for Doug Burke.
Like we weren't supposed to tell him.
Ooh, sorry.
In the stream.
Yeah. Can you roll a nat 20 and see if you are gonna be able to get paid?
Oh god.
I should put a dice command in chat.
Oh, that'd be so funny.
Oh, that'd be sick. I'm afraid of what our audience would do with it. I believe there's one more question that I usually have. Oh, yes. Here it is. If you were emperor of all of TTRPG for a day, which means that your will would be done, like anything that you wanted. If you told wizards to shut down and stop being a thing, they would shut down and stop being a thing. Like, what would you do as emperor of TTRPG or empress of TTRPG for, I hate gender terms, for the day?
I would ban any table that's all white. And I would ban any table that's all male immediately. And I can, in this world, I am empress and I can do whatever I want. And it's like you said, the same bullshit that was in improv, I see in the TTRPG scene. I just was very lucky that I got like softly placed. Like my first game was with a bunch of Asians who I've improvised with for years, right? Like I felt very safe and like very like nothing was going to happen because Masood was GMing and he would never let anything happen to me, right?
Right.
Like I see the same bullshit. I see the same complaints. I see the same, like, nobody's listening to me. No one cares. Like, everyone's just a dude, or like, I'm not being respected. People are saying dumb, shitty, racist stuff to me and I can't focus. Like, I would just ban immediately and be like, I promise you, games will get better. And people might have to shift what they expect from a game, whatever it is for whatever reasons. But like, immediately with a snap, like Thanos, I'd just be like, done, that's it.
I like that. I like that. I can't believe to this day there's still streams that are all male and all white at the same time here in the year 2021.
That is a choice that people make when they are making an all white table. That is a choice. It's not that different from a comedy lineup or a stand-up lineup, which I have seen just no women.
Or a panel on diversity and inclusion.
Exactly. And I'm like, this is 2021. The basic that you could do is just maybe be like, maybe we shouldn't have a panel of all men talking about like women's inclusion. And I'm like, wow. God.
You think.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I also saw somewhere in the chat. Is my background a swarm of rats? Yes, it is. It's from my favorite character that I've ever played, which is Ratsputin, which is a rat king from Long Island. Noir, do not look at me. Do not turn away. A rat king from Long Island, and I got to play this like horrific accent. I'm so bad at accent work, and I made everybody suffer through it for hours. And all their tails are winded up, and they have like a little nursery inside. And as they get older, they have a rat spriga where they're allowed to go and live their best rat
it's like
life.
A rat king that is also an Amish community.
Pretty much, it's more of a horizontal flat structure of co-op. They don't really believe in hierarchies. It's really much more anarchist in nature. And when the old ones die, all of their body parts get created to make giant fleshy wings, and then they can fly and attack you. Has ever asked for this character back, and I don't know why.
Okay, look, I need y'all to understand that Shu's character in Techberg is like a Disney princess, and where like a Disney princess can go, and like beautiful bluebirds come, like winter makes possums and rats come, and raccoons. And you have a list of names for these rats.
Yes.
I believe there's Rasputin.
Rasputin is the rat king, but there is Clawlamain and several other I think it was like Margaret Clotcher or something like that. I just literally went down a pun list, just an insane pun list, and I was just like, and I have it ready to go at any time, Noir, to haunt your nightmares.
You know what?
Oof. Bo, I agreed to a game a while ago and didn't look at the other players because I was new to the community, and they were the diversity.
Aww.
Oh yeah, I have been at tables where I'm like, oh, I'm the quota.
Bo, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're white or white passing. Is it just because you're queer? That was the diversity quota, was one queer person? Yeah, you're very white.
Also very gorgeous, but yes,
gorgeous.
Also very white. Not to Etsy her, but like, what are y'all doing?
Should I watch Critical Role? Like, I've never seen this show, and it feels a little bit like someone who plays professional basketball being like, yes, I don't know LeBron, like, but you know, I hear good things. Like,
I have also been the queerness diversity quota, Bo. You're not alone there.
Here's what I will tell you about Critical Role. Critical Role is an amazing story. If you're interested in just story and seeing just how big and expansive a world can get, I would say check it out. The meta around some of it is not the greatest. The first season, there was a cast member by the name of Orion who was very problematic. They got rid of him, and then it kind of went on per normal. And it was very entertaining. Second season, we were kind of hoping they would add a person of color. They did not, and one of the players played a person of color. Which,
hold up, what?
Oh boy. I'm trying to describe this as fairly as possible.
What? So I have like 50 years of TTRPG like drama and gossip to catch up on, so you just late on me.
Beauregard Lionette, the character in Critical Role played by Marisha Ray, is a monk and is Asian of color, darker skin.
Oh, it's personal. Okay, cool. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Okay. Good to know.
Well, I didn't know exactly her ethnicity. I just knew that she has some melanin.
Yeah. Darker skin, great. Asian-ish, according to the character art, and yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, that's according to the character art that does not whitewash her. Which
yes,
is
that's also a problem.
Wow.
Yeah, the critters, the community around Critical Role, I feel that they come in two flavors, which are lovely and pleasant, and ooh, that's a spicy meatball. Like I just no. There's not really a middle temperature. The cast is all white, as you know. And the supporting staff are around Critical Role, like the people working behind the scenes. There are plenty of people of color behind the scenes, and a lot of beautiful and talented and wonderful people behind the scenes. But the representation in front of the camera is not great. And that's kind of the big discussion point with campaign 3, which is about to start soon. There was no one added to the cast, but what they're pitching is that they're going to have more guests. And they've had guests before, but they're going to have more guests.
And campaign 3 is also supposed to be based in Marquette, which is a desert area.
Yeah. We're talking more Middle Eastern kind of
inspiration.
And so I'm a little concerned.
There's a lot of people that have similar concerns.
Whew.
But hey, if you want to watch a desert campaign that has actual people of color represented at the table, you can watch Into the Southlands on Cobalt Press.
Good to know. Okay.
Great pitch there.
You know, our series.
I gotta get better pitching my own stuff. I'm just gonna let you.
Yeah, you're the one. You're GMing it. We've got KP and B Zelda and like actual like a good representation at the table. I don't know.
But yeah, that's kind of the story with Critical Role. Like I said, great story. There are some problematic things in there, but again, you have, and I'm not defending them.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying that this is a property that it's like 4 hours an episode, and they've run for 3 seasons. This is going on for a while, so there's going to be a lot of there's going to be some problematic stuff in there. There's still a lot of things that they haven't addressed that I would love for them to address. The Marquette setting is not. I'm worried about it. Them not adding anyone to the cast is also something that I worry about. But my whole deal is we've been asking for changes for a while. Mm-hmm. We've been asking for more representation for a while. And they took a good step with Exandria Unlimited, which was a short campaign series that they did that was GM'd by Abria, but then to immediately go into campaign 3 with the same crew when you just demonstrated that you have access to wonderful players of color that could not only GM the game but play it wonderfully. I think that was a little bit of a letdown. I think people were looking at Exandria as if it were like an audition process.
Yeah, that's kind of my vibe check with Critical Role fans is I ask them what they think of Exandria Unlimited.
Oh yeah.
There's
a lot of people that don't pass the vibe check.
Yeah. I feel like this rest of the show is going to be us catching up on some drama, but I'm here for the tea.
Abria's amazing. Abria's awesome.
Abria was amazing. One of the pieces of drama that happened with Exandria was there was somebody that was just like, you stole my character to one of the players of color. It was this way.
I think I saw like little bits of this on Twitter. Like I'm always getting my tea like served very cold, like weeks later on Twitter, and I'm always like, "Hey, what's happening?"
Well, yeah, there was that whole deal, and it was a mess. And so people, it's just there's a Critical Role is the biggest thing in the scene, so it's filled to the brim with drama, and people overreacting. and just throwing bitch fits. But that's neither here nor there. But the main tea is season 3, desert environment, no POCs. We're a little worried.
Okay.
Do we want to take a quick 10-minute break to hydrate, do bio breaks, and that sort of thing? And then we'll cut back with more.
No, I want you to suffer.
Yes, that would be wonderful. I feel like you've been trying to get us on break for so long.
I have been trying to steer this conversation to like a natural stopping point for like.
I know.
No, I'm gonna keep going. So the next thing that happened was
I'm gonna wind up cutting him off. That's gonna happen.
In season 1, what happened was that Ryan.
Hello, we're back, and we just missed The Hills Are Alive, the Sound of Booty. It just cut off the screen.
I don't know who would say something as crass as that, but that's disgusting.
Weapon talk is currently happening in our chat.
Wait, what?
Lauren was wondering what to do a new video on. Our friend Lauren, or Lauren Danger in chat, actually teaches sword fighting and accurate sword fighting.
That's going to be necessary because we're getting close to the apocalypse, and we all know that the firearms are going to go quickly. And we'll have to resort to melee fighting like in the old days.
Yeah, like Super Smash Bros. Before you're live.
Listen, once the Thunderdome happens.
Look, I'm starting to get deadly with Link. Like, that's all I'm saying. I know Link is mid-tier, but like, I'm getting nasty. I figured out how to use those bombs. It's about to be a problem for y'all.
I love to play as Wii Fitness Trainer. Because
I hate you.
No. Have you ever seen someone's face when they lose to Wii Fitness Trainer? Like the light just drains from their eyes, and that moment sustains me. So I love trolling my friends. I am not great, but I'm better than some folks. And whenever when she wins, I win.
As Kirby main trash, I appreciate that.
Like, y'all are playing the characters I legit hate the most.
Okay, wait. You hate Wii Fitness Trainer more than Greninja? That's the only thing this motherfucker says is Greninja. Like, I hate, like, Rick trolls me so hard when he plays Greninja because he knows I hate it so much. Losing to Greninja is the only thing worse than losing to Wii Fitness Trainer. And as someone who's done that a lot, let me tell you, Wii Fitness Trainer, she's my girl.
I feel like Nintendo has mastered the art of making games that end relationships.
Mario Party?
We don't talk about Mario Party. Mario Party was Mario Party is such a hateful game that it made me say the N-word like a slur one time. like I felt racist after saying it. And it was to my baby cousin, who's like too young to know better. But he took all my stars, and like I hit him with the It was just not good.
Yeah, we only play teams because I shudder to think of like Rick and I both like very competitive people, like going at it, like. We're differently skilled, like anything that requires a lot of dexterity, I'm better at, but he's played video games for longer. I don't know who'd come out on top, but I know it's going to be bad.
Have y'all played Mario Kart together yet?
Yeah, but I suck at Mario Kart. So like that one doesn't hurt as much. And that one, it's you shouldn't win all the time at video games. Like that, you're not going to learn humility through that way. You know what I mean? Like you need to humble yourself by losing to 15-year-olds online. I think that's the best way to remind yourself you're human and trash and that nothing matters.
It's just like bombing in a comedy club.
No, fuck that is different.
But for people that are comedians.
Yeah, probably.
Sharice over here. Laura and I played Wario last night in co-op. Very fun. Nah, fight your wife. Tell them to pick up Smash Brothers and have it.
That's why like Overcooked is really nice because Overcooked is fun in tandem. But then at some point you're just yelling like, "Throw me lettuce! Throw me lettuce!"
It's all fun and games until you like begin to hate your partner.
Yeah. My favorite thing is whenever there's like 5 seconds to go and you like can't finish a plate, Rick and I will just start throwing things at each other to see who can knock each other off the like the board. And a couple times he'll like throw a steak at my character, and as my character's at the edge, just like falls off, and I'm like, "You got me, keeping me humble. Thank you."
Have you ever had the joy of playing Phasmophobia? Let me tell you about Phasmophobia. Phasmophobia is a game where you play a ghost hunter, and the entire point of the game is to go into these haunted places and like drop like a Ouija board to see if the ghost moves it, or like it's like playing Ghost Hunters, but a video game. There's actually a ghost and it can kill you. Right? It's really spooky. So this bitch.
It me.
There's a van where you have all your hunting equipment.
You're
and you
safe
can go
in
back
the van.
to the van. You're safe in the van, right? Every time I would play with Anita, I would be in the haunted house, and like it starts to get real spooky.
It doesn't help. Every single time there's like a haunt or the ghost decides to start coming out, this bitch decides that egging the ghost on is the right thing to do. So can you really blame me for hiding my ass?
I will not be disrespected by spirits from the other side. So every time, like when the ghost is near you and it's doing a haunting, your flashlight and all the lights around you flicker.
The doors lock into the place so you're trapped, so you have to hide.
Letting you know it's time to hide or the ghost is going to kill you. So without fail, every time that happens, I'm like, Anita, we need to hide. And Anita's like, I'm in the van. When did you abandon me? We're in the basement. There's 3 sub-basements. You had to have left me 15 years ago.
My favorite thing is that I walk into the building and I'll be Noir will walk in, I'm like, I'm right behind you, and then I'll just like hit backwards and I'll just duck right smooth. He's got me once at it, just smooth move walking out of the building.
That's amazing.
Just leaves me to die. So yeah.
When it comes to ghosts, it's every person for their own. Sorry.
Listen. I'm just trying to live long enough to figure out if this is a Yurei or not.
So I highly recommend playing Phasmo with your partner. Is all that I'm trying to say.
Okay. I will keep that under advisement. Yeah, it's like spooky season. So yeah, that sounds like totally a thing.
It really is fun. To watch who of your friends will leave you to die. And what I have learned is that all of my friends, every single one of them, will leave me to die. Hey, Diana!
Like I said, because you egg the ghosts on.
I will not be disrespected by somebody who was so scrub at life they died.
So scrub at life they died.
I mean, that happens to all of us eventually.
Not me. Get good, scrubs. I'm gonna live forever.
See, this sounds like someone. This sounds like someone who needs to be humbled by a 15-year-old online. That right there, that's exactly what we're trying to crush.
That's the attitude.
I made the mistake of playing Battlefield recently, and I was on.
I'm sorry, buddy.
I was on microphone, and I promise you, I was in the game for less than 2 minutes before some kid was like, "Hey, I was like,
Oh.
I have been surrounded by Nazis for the last 2 to 3 weeks, and I don't know why. They keep coming after me, man.
Oh my God, that is
because you're black and have an opinion online.
Mm-hmm.
Like I on TikTok, it got real bad because
no. Is there like TikTok bullying? Is that like?
Oh no, they can't bully me because I don't give a fuck. But it's just like there was this video that went around of you know that song by Kesha, I feel your heartbeat to the beat of the drum.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's this video of these white girls. They have a speaker. They have a speaker and they go, I feel your heartbeat to the beat of the drum. Like they just
one girl was okay.
They could not get the beat right for the life of them, right? And so then it's a trend of like holding a speaker and then like banging on the doors to the beat. And there's a video of these black guys, like 15 of these black dudes, all on different doors. I feel your heartbeat to the beat of a drum. And they all got the beat right. And so I just made a joking video like, hey, we don't need to flex on white people like this. Like, look, they already know that we got, rhythm. And it was just like a joking thing, right? Yeah. And like, I don't know why, but it blew up. And a bunch of white people were just like, we're so sorry. We know we don't have rhythm. Just kind of like getting in on the joke. But then like every third comment was just like, I'm so sick of you monkeys and I'm going to shoot you in your sleep. And I'm like, holy shit, guys. Fucking relax, dude.
Holy shit.
Right. And so like I got into it with a few of them and it was just me like I like roasting people. I'm from Chicago. All we do is cook people. You know that. Like we gotta
stay warm because it's cold.
So I'm just roasting them. And like this is after like the hate raids and I cooked another one. And so like it's starting to become a thing with them popping up more and more and more. I think I'm making a name for myself with racist.
I'm so
You're
sorry.
Giving them the negative attention that they so crave.
Oh my God. See, this is why I don't do TikTok, because I want people to bully me to my face, because I promise you, I am faster than you at coming up with insults. I am Chinese. Okay. I will ruin your life.
Well, the problem is like, if you roast one of these guys, you roast all of them because they're all the same.
Yeah, because they're all like paper thin, right? Like that ego is like a delicate little like rice paper, tissue paper.
Hating people is considered their prime personality trait.
Well, look, yes. it's the same thing. They're all sentient hot topics that got taught racism. And like they all have like anime profiles and like some kind of anime name. And it's just like, how could you be racist if you're a white guy with a profile of Madara and you call yourself Madari Uchiha? How?
No, I'm telling you, like, as someone who has watched a lot of anime and been in that scene for a while, I lurk because, again, I'm afraid of internet bullies. Well, sort of. Like a lot of white people, when they watch anime, they're like, well, these people are white. And I'm like, what? They're like, they're obviously white. And I'm like, it's made in Japan. They speak Japanese. Everyone's bowing. Like, I can't have this conversation.
It's the people that got mad because they made Jet Black in the Cowboy Bebop live action.
Probably. Like, that probably is just the spectrum of just like people who are just like, this is obviously for us. They have big eyes. And I'm like, what? Like, if you go to Asia, you will see a wide spectrum of people. They don't all look like one specific way. You're talking about like 4 billion people on this planet. I'm going to take offense for all of them. Okay. And now I'm going to fight.
Like I don't, how do they, like, there's the whole, like, I don't understand how there's racism in cosplay from white people. It doesn't make sense. They're not, none of the characters you're playing are what?
But Noir, Hinata isn't black.
She gonna be black today. I love that song so fucking much. So good. It's such a, but I don't understand how you can be racist when you clad yourself with shit from a different color.
It's cognitive dissonance. It's because it also feeds into that Asian as acceptable, as an acceptable minority. It feeds into that a little bit, which is bullshit and terrible.
But the thing is, racists don't create anything; they just co-opt everything, right?
Yes, very much so.
There are racist rappers, y'all. How did that happen? Y'all, do you understand the history of rap? How?
How and why, and also how?
Yeah. For what?
We go black power. They're like, I hate black people so much that I could just white power. And it's just like, you just took our thing. That's our. You know what? Fine. Black lives matter. All lives matter. What? And blue lives matter. It's just like, if you're such a superior race, why do you keep dipping into everybody else's sauce? And I use that word on purpose right now.
I'm gonna let that one go because you were in the mood talking about racism. I understand.
But it just doesn't make sense.
It is co-opting other people's culture and making it palatable for white people, which, as we all know, palatability is the flavor of salt for white people. As a white.
I don't understand racism in the anime community. It boggles my motherfucking mind. It really, truly does. There are people that are legit upset that Keanu Reeves is not playing Spike. I'm like, no! He shouldn't play Spike. Spike isn't a white guy.
They even show who the original, inspiration for Spike Spiegel is, and he's Japanese. He's definitely not white.
Yeah, there's something very strange about, people who are, racists who are in the anime, and this idea of, they want the Asian aesthetic and the Asian women, but they don't want any Asians. They don't want to think about immigration. They don't want any of that shit. They just want these three things. And they're like, well, see, this is fine. See, look at us. We look at how learned we are. We understand the ancient ways of the sensei. That's the shit that they're thinking. And it is so strange to me. I think because I speak English really well, and a lot of people don't realize that I wasn't born here. They think that I'm second generation. A lot of people think I'm from California. Sometimes white people want to talk to me too friendly. They don't know.
I know, I get exactly what you mean, but keep going.
Yeah, and they're just like, oh, wait. We both like coffee. That is a thing that we both like. Let's talk about this other thing. And I'm like, you are just opening up a can of worms here. This is what? I don't know you. This is uncomfortable. What makes you think? Now I feel bad about myself because now I think, have I done anything that makes you think that I would ever be in the same room with you? Because I'll never forget that one time, Rick and I were with some friends. We were in New Orleans, and it was my second time in New Orleans, and we were doing the whole Mardi Gras thing, which was a mistake. And we had gotten Airbnb, and we were kind of splitting it with these other people. And that weekend was I think I was the first Asian person that several white people had met that weekend. I tried to, some people's parents were coming over, and these were people who were staying at our place. And I went to try to be friendly, like, oh, hi, so nice to see you. They looked at me and they turned away and started talking to other people. Like, we're talking about, like, we're in like a crowd, like this wasn't private. And I remember being like,
wow,
okay, I guess I've been through worse. That's fair enough. Later that night, like these friends of friends or whatever, these white dudes, they were wearing, they were Southern Chads, you know, like, they were coming in and like, my partner is white. And so we were just like sitting and just like chatting or whatever. And we had never met these people. So I was just like, oh yeah, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then they were like, oh yeah, let's give you the real answer. And they started telling us which parades or which areas of towns not to go, solely because like, they were like, there's just too many Black people there. And I remember just being like, you are in New Orleans, you assholes. Like, this city doesn't belong to you. Like, we are interlopers. Like we, like you like I felt like my mind short circuited. And Rick and I just looked at each other, and Rick was like, "Do they not see you? Like, I'm in an interracial relationship. What makes them think that they were dropping N-words?" Like, it was just one of those moments where I was like, at some point we were just like, nope, we're done. Like, we just could not be in the same room with these people, because I was truly so horrified that, like, again, because they have this idea of like, this is white, and white means like a certain set of linguistic standards or a certain set of features or certain sets of whatever. They're like, she's close enough. Okay, let's unleash some real racism here. Okay, like, she's from the Midwest, blah blah blah. And then I have to sit there and be like, listen to me, okay? Like, I know I don't seem like it, but I might as well have a PhD in racial studies in America, and I'm about to like school you and give you a 101 because I don't like the way you're talking to me.
Oh my, like, to hear it unfiltered and like not angry, but like just happening, that I can only imagine. Like, I only hear it when it's like angry, or when there's a screen protecting them from the hands that must surely follow if this happened in real life.
Yeah. And I have no doubt that like you've undergone so much more bullshit, you know, and I think like there's just something so strange about like these races when you just like let them, when they think that they're free in any way, behind a screen, whatever, and they mouth off, and you're just like, oh my.
So you know? I for sure don't think it's been more. I'm starting to understand the older I get that it's just different. Like, on some level, if you're not a straight white guy in America, you deal with your own brand of what the fuck every day. Like, and it's just, you know, and that's kind of like one of the things that I do enjoy about conversations like this, so we can compare and contrast our what the fuck, and like people can understand like, oh, okay, yeah, I kind of have faced a little bit of that what the fuck myself, so we can more easily understand, like, you know, we're all going through it, and nobody should be going through it. Like, this is white supremacy. We live in a culture dominated by white supremacy, which is just, you know, it is what it is.
It's so sad, right? Like, it's right. So sad. I mean, I will say that with COVID, like, I have experienced more like anti-Asian, like direct aggression, like shitty racism in the last like 2 years than my entire life before combined. And I grew up in the Midwest in a small town. All right. And I am not a stranger to like weird shit happening in my life. But like you said, I think I just thought that was normal, right? I just thought that everybody goes through that, right? Like, you just, you know, like, people make fun of you, they tell you to go back to where you came from. That's just childhood, right? And then you talk to other people and you're like, oh no, this
shit is fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, I did some work for a gaming company, and, you know, my whole deal was to make sure that everything that was presented, you know, was copacetic, was like very cool. And so I, you know, to prepare myself for that, I did a lot of reading into tropes and cliches and things that people were just kind of tired of seeing. and I read an entire article about Asian women and the colored streak in their hair and the silenced Asian person on screen. And like I just kind of went through the Rolodex of like media I consumed, and like it's so predominant, and like it just kind of opened my eyes to the fact that again we're all going through our own shit, and like our society has been consistently telling people what to expect from us, right? You know, it's very rare that you'll see like a very intellectual, soft, kind, and understanding black masculine figure on you know on any kind of media. In more often than not, you'll see like the silenced and sexualized Asian feminine persona online, and it's or in the media. It is just it's kind of jarring when you open your eyes and pay attention to the shit that's out there and so predominant. It's just it makes you realize that we all have a lot of shit that we have to unpack and step out of.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of my 20s, I really just did spend just like unlearning the psychic damage of my childhood. Just so many things to unpack, and
yeah,
you know, and I feel like sometimes I think people are presented with the idea of like, oh my God, your 20s are like the best time, and I'm like, for therapy, like that's where you need to be. Because, you know, like it took me, like I grew up in a very conservative household. I grew up in a very conservative part of America. It took me so much time to really like unpack all the damage that I had gone through, and to realize like the real culprit in everything is white supremacy, right? And white supremacy is at hold when and I went to a boarding high school, and my roommate was Black. She's one of my best friends. I was a bridesmaid in her wedding. She's gonna be a bridesmaid in mine. No one would believe we were friends. Like legitimately, people did not believe we were friends. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, yes, I know she's from the South Side, and yes, I'm from a small like town in the middle of Illinois. But like that girl would do anything for me. I would do anything for her. You know, like we were just like each other's people. We had the same sense of humor, like, you know what I mean? But like, it wouldn't click. And so people would say like mean shit to me all the time. And I'd be like, this is one of my best friends. Shut the fuck up. What are you talking about? She's also a fucking genius. And I'm sorry that you can't see like genius presented in like a Black feminine spirit, but like that's just not my problem. Get the fuck out of my face. And like, it boggled my mind how people just couldn't wrap their minds around it. You know what I mean? And we laugh about this now. Like, you know, like we went through weird times in high school, and we were just like, Jesus Christ, thank God we're out. We found partners. Like we're in better places in our life. But it just, right? Like there's just something about, because white people don't very often have access to, you know, media driven by POC, written for POC, by it, like their preconceived notions are really sad and small. And it takes just the smallest thing to be like, I'm not who you think I am. I am my own person. Come meet me here.
Absolutely. And one of the most insidious things that I've noticed about like just our culture in general, about what white supremacy has done, is that like it kind of gives the different races incentive to fight each other. Like
yes.
and the more you mention like people couldn't see us as friends, like that's to me very purposeful. Like you know, there's this abstract idea of the latter, like, well, at least I'm not a that, or at least I'm not a that, or at least I'm not a that. And like, and there's a lot of work that we have, like, when I say we, I'm talking mainly about, you know, my community. There's a lot of work that we have to do to undo a lot of that programming. Like, we've got to get better with how we speak to our queer brothers and sisters. Like, we have to, you know, keep them in mind. We have to do better with how we talk to our Latino and our Asian brothers and sisters. Like there's a lot of work that we have to do in our own communities. And I think one of the things that, is hard for some people to comprehend is that you can be oppressed and the oppressor at the same time,
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I think that's something that I feel like a lot of Asians did not realize until like maybe if ever like until like very recently, honestly, where it was just like, oh my God, like I feel like a lot of Asians did not realize that they were being used as a cudgel for white supremacy. So for instance, there's this like super conservative, shitty, he's white, and he goes around and he is trying to destroy affirmative action. So he was the one who bankrolled that like white girl from Texas who didn't get into a University of Texas. And his newest thing is trying to get Asians to be like, oh, well, affirmative action took your spot at Harvard. And first of all, Harvard's great. Harvard is not most of America, right? Harvard does not matter to most of America. Like what matters is like community colleges and state schools. And like, that's where our focus should be, not on this like one Ivy League that admits like whatever, like less than 1,000 people a year. But like there's some Asians who just ate that shit up. And they're like, oh, well, we care about college things. And I'm like, okay, ask yourself, if you had to choose between someone who was from like an underprivileged background versus a mediocre person whose parents had gotten in, tell me something. Who do you think deserves to be at the school more, right? And so like that is part of the work that I feel like I have to do as an Asian American, is trying to just like sit there and be like, I'm going to talk to you about this because like I have inroads in this community with my face and myself, and I could do, that's something that I have to really, I'm not trying to make myself sound like I'm the perfect ally or anything like that, but that's something that I, think it's really important for Asian Americans to do and to take on, to be like, we have to unpack that. We have to unpack anti-Blackness, and we have to unpack this idea of this model minority, like once we start addressing.
Yeah, that's the insidious thing about the model minority, is that you're the model minority until you're not.
Exactly.
That's what's terrible about white supremacy.
Yep. Yeah. It's insidious. It's everywhere.
It really is. And like, I don't think it's like being the perfect ally. I think it's being a responsible adult of looking at your community and going, okay, here's the work that needs to be done. Like there is rampant homophobia in the Black community, especially coming from Black men. In that it's something that I feel like all Black men have a responsibility of seeing, taking note of, and doing something about. And I think, again, to just touch on this point lightly, I think that, if there's any positivity to come out of the whole Dave Chappelle thing, I think it put a spotlight on the amount of work that we have to do in support of the queer community, because that we can't have people arguing in defense of somebody spending 34 minutes punching down at the trans community without ever taking into account that there are Black trans people, and that kind of rhetoric gets Black trans people killed, and it's getting them killed at a number that's far more disproportionate than anybody else in the community. So it's just like it's less about being like the perfect ally, and it's more about doing your part. And I feel like the previous generation didn't really do. No, I'm kidding. They could have did more.
I think that's the brilliant thing about this generation and the generation that's coming up, is that we've got a little bit less tolerance for the intolerant, and I have hope for the future, and I have hope.
#punch Nazis.
Yeah, I have hope that we can punch Nazis into submission. I have hope.
Yeah, I think I have a lot of hope for the younger generation, and they're dealing with a whole different set of issues than the shit that we dealt with, and I felt like I was the last generation that really remembered a time pre-social media and like pre the internet taking over, and like I could not imagine being like a 10-year-old girl growing up with Instagram. Like that has to be outrageous, right? Like, and so I think it really sucks that this generation is being tasked to help lift all of us out. But like, you know, I see so much more promise in them and so much more like understanding of things that my like big dumb cis brain can like, I'm like, oh, someone's pronouns have changed, right? And my brain will like take a minute to change that, right? And the younger generations are just like, absolutely, moving forward, you know, and it's seamless for them. It's seamless for them, and it's beautiful, and we should be following them in that.
Yeah, I think they're gonna save the world with memes. And what I mean by that,
yeah,
I'm not even kidding. Have you all heard of the devious licks meme?
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of these kids were being forced to go back to school in the middle of the pandemic, and a lot of their school districts weren't taking precautions or necessary precautions or enough precaution. Yeah. And the kids wanted to protest, but they had to go to school. So they decided to come up with the devious licks meme, which is they stole their school, which is like they were stealing things like projectors,
water fountains, doors, the floor.
They took the flooring of an entire hallway. Like they were just stealing so much shit that the school was like, stop it or we're gonna shut down. And they were like, oh no, we'll shut down. Oh, and so like on TikTok, you would just see like TikToks of like a kid pointing at the projector going, ooh, this looks like a good lick. And then they were doing other things like one school because of whatever reason banned book bags. Like there just no book bags allowed. So kids were putting all their books in like big ass plastic garbages and just dragging it. Or like one kid walked in with like a candy dispenser that's shaped like an M&M. It was just like they were just trolling the school district so much that they just had to change the rules and stop. And you know, I look at the younger generation, and there are things that have changed so vastly that I can't relate, and they make me sad. Like, do you know that kids don't respond to fire drills anymore? Like, if the fire alarm goes off, they don't respond. And the reason being is because a lot of the times school shooters will pull the fire alarm
to get people out of the classrooms.
They've been trained.
Oh my God.
They've been trained to just ignore them. Like in the way that we had fire drills, they have active shooter drills. And like, it's just, this next generation, I think they're going to save us because they're much tougher than us, because a lot of the reality that they're facing day to day is shit that we just can't comprehend. I would have never thought about not responding to a fire drill because of a shooter until like I read that, and I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah. I think we had maybe like, we had a few active shooter drills just because we were like a boarding school and like other reasons like that. But like, I was like reading somewhere and they were talking like the amount that they're doing. And I'm like, what?
They do active shooter drills with kindergarten classes.
Which I cannot imagine. I was reading some article and they were interviewing this girl who had been at a shooting at a baseball stadium. She's like, well, this is my second shooting, so you know, I think I really got the hang of it. And I remember just being like, she's like 5 or like 6, you know what I mean? Like this girl is a child, and like, what a failure of society we have been to the future generation. Like what a failure, like how tremendous these like souls are. And it's really easy to make fun of them on TikTok about that shit or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like, ultimately they're the ones who are going to troll us troll the baby boomers, the Gen Xers into like giving a shit about climate change and like changing the world. So you know what? Let me just get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah, I fully support, and that's why like whenever anybody makes fun of like you're 30 years old and on TikTok, look, these kids got it figured out. Like they have to, because we've essentially set the world on fire, burned down all the safety nets, whittled the tightrope down to like to like inches and said, here you go. And these motherfuckers are doing backflips on it. Like, they're just like, okay, well, let me do my floss dance as I go across. That's badass, and I fully support these motherfuckers. So,
and I think a lot of it is the fact that a lot of these people are coming at age at a time of change and a time of upheaval. Like, they got put into lockdown, and Black Lives Matter happened, and that's all over their social media feeds. So they're willing to fight because they've seen others fight. And
damn, Bo, you had to come for my neck like that.
Noir Souls, I think flossing's still a thing.
Jesus Christ, man. That would hurt. That would hurt.
As a Greninja comment for sure. Just straight. That's great.
Just sip that coffee. Yeah, I like that we get into like these deeper topics. These are all good conversations to have.
Well, the second half is the dark roast. That's why we get into it. Just to put a cap on that, the whole conversation. All of everything that we talked about, it all comes back to the same source, which is the insidious nature of white supremacy. We've got kindergartners practicing a shooter walking in their school because white guys like guns. And that's really what it boils down to.
Bo was in a dungeon in New World and had to catch up on sassy comments.
You're going to have to let me know what server you're playing on. But now we get into the signature segment of the Dark Roast, which is, if you've been in the TTRPG community long enough, you've probably had the misfortune of sitting at a table with someone that is just a black hole of fun. Someone that if they were yeeted into the sun, your experience at the table would be far more better for it. We call these people that guys. Now, every episode on this show, we ask our guests if they've had an experience with that guy, and we've had that guys as small as GMs that railroad people and railroad their characters into making decisions that the player may not want to make, and all the way to that guys as severe as someone who offered to help a new player make a character, gave them nothing but bad advice, and then bit them in the neck and then gaslit them as though it didn't happen. So we have had that guys of all different shapes and sizes. So, Shu, have you had the experience of playing in a TTRPG with a that guy?
So I'm going to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I have not. All of my games are pretty much all like, they're all either run by a woman or like mostly POC. Like I have entered this world at just precisely the right angle where I have been protected from all of that. I wish I could say that for everybody, but I have been so lucky that, you know, like Masood asked me to hop into this game and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And it became like more than one game, you know, and then like Roll20 asked me to do more stuff. And then like I've been doing like some random sit-ins with like Hyper and things like I've been so lucky that I have just been like surrounded by basically like women POC at all times. And I am the luckiest gal and I will never take any of that for granted.
Hell yeah. Finally.
We had Darby, remember?
I know, but I wasn't here for that one. I finally hear from someone that doesn't have a backup. I'm so happy.
I don't. I probably will in the future. So come have me on here like 5 years from now, and I'm gonna be like, listen.
It won't even be 5 years. It'll be sooner, but right now. Right now. I got one. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about this segment. I created the That Guy segment like episode 1 because like I figured I, as a masculine presenting individual, have had just really rough scenarios dealing with some of the personalities in this space. So I wanted to see, who else had that. And then so we started interviewing femme presenting individuals, and I realized I had been playing in the minor leagues the whole time.
Oh my God.
The femmes basically came in and said, hold my beer.
I was just like, here are my nightmare scenarios. Tell me what's yours. And they went, well. And it's been horrifying. And so I've just been like, I just want to have one episode where someone doesn't have a story. And the first time it happened on this show, I was not on the episode. I had something else that I had to go run and do. And so we're finally here. And I'm finally talking to someone. And they don't have that guy's story.
I don't. I have been very lucky. I will say that I am generally very, very picky about the projects that I take on. Mostly because of time. I'll just be honest. I just don't have that much time right now. But like, I also, I think for me as an artist in general, it's quality and not quantity. And when I start doing quantity is when I see bad shit. So, and that was improv. I'm gonna take that lesson with me to the tabletop world. So yeah, like
I'm gonna break my own heart here, and I'm gonna ask you, do you have a That Guy improv story?
Oh boy. How long are we here for?
Give me the one that comes to your mind immediately when you hear That Guy in improv.
Oh my God. So I was taking a class with all dudes and one woman, and that woman ended up being like one of my best friends. And like she's invited to my wedding. Like, you know what I mean? Like we bonded over the shared trauma of these other dudes. And not all of these dudes were bad, but collectively combined, it was a very alienating experience. And the worst of this dude was like, he was like someone who's a little bit older, came from like I gave him a lot of leeway because like he came from a not great background, and I understood that, like people might have more chips on their shoulders. I totally get that. But this fucking guy would slide into my fucking Facebook messages and be like, yo, you want to join a gang? And I'm like, you're a white dude. Like you're not from the part of Illinois where I could believe that's a thing. He never liked any of my suggestions. Like he would always be like, I would always have to play his girlfriend, and it would always be somewhat sexual. And I would always like turn it on him, and then he would have to stop the scene and be like, wait, what did you say? And I was like, and he got mad at me because I put together a show, and I was like, hey, why doesn't everybody from like class do this? Because I was still young and naive and so innocent. And he was mad that other people got more time in this variety show. And I'm like, listen, dude, there's an odd number of people. I put everyone's name into a hat and I literally drew them out. And it got this guy started interrogating me so badly, like really aggressively, that another dude friend of his, like had to step in and be like, hey, like you're kind of being real aggressive. And I was still so young and naive, and that was like really early on in my improv career where I was still like, I just want to be friends with everyone, versus now I'd be like, get the fuck out of my face, but that guy like comes to mind really easily because he was just really dumb. And
Jesus.
couldn't understand basic math, and like was just probably not a great dude to be around, even if he did have like, you know, a difficult backstory or whatnot. If he had been taken out of the class would have been better.
Yeah, that's that guy. That's that guy for sure. Yeah. Jesus, our whole deal on this show is we try to promote empathy and shut the fuck up. We feel like if that message kind of went throughout the world would be a better place. Yes, I'm I kind of want to start another movement, which is stop being understanding to shitty dudes. Like,
honestly, oh my God, my 20s could have been completely shifted had I just been like, stop talking to me.
Stop justifying other people's shitty behavior.
Yeah, you know, yes. Yeah. It's just, you know what, fellas, as a group, I feel like we've lost the benefit of the doubt. I know there's some good ones of us out there, but we're getting overwhelmed by these fuck ups. And I feel like until we do something, like, we gotta play the game on hard mode, y'all. We no extra saves, no extra lives. If you fuck up, that's it. Because like I'm sick of shitty dudes getting the benefit of. My childhood was ruined because my mom kept giving my dad the benefit of the doubt. So you know what? I'm promoting it right here. We're calling it one life. Like what? We need a snazzy title for this. Like, yeah. What's it? I'll think of something.
Like a one strike system.
Yeah, we fellas were on the one strike system. Like, if you fuck up, that's it. Because like half of the TV shows I watch now, it's just like, damn, if she didn't give him the benefit of the doubt, she'd still be alive. Yep. Damn, if she didn't give him the benefit of the doubt, this show would turn out a lot differently. Like, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Like, just no.
Yeah. The thing that I feel like I tell, like, whenever I talk to younger women, you know, particularly if they're Asian, you know, coming from like a very strong patriarchal background there, I'm like, listen to me. Your job in life is not to be presentable for men, to be malleable by men, to be acceptable and palatable by men. Okay? Like, I promise you out there, like, I am one of the angriest feminists I know, and I found someone, okay? There's hope for fucking everybody, okay? Do not waste a fucking moment. I mean, this also goes towards men. It's not like a gender-specific thing, non-gender binary. Like, do not waste your moment on someone else who is not going to give you the fucking time of day that you deserve. All right. No. And who's going to be spouting off hate and who's going to make your life harder. Just say no. Just run. Just go.
When people tell you who they are, believe them.
Yes. Yeah. When they act shitty, you can just be like, wow, yeah, no, I'm going to cut my losses now. And your life will be, my 20s would have been much easier had I just been like, wow, you're a shit dude. Okay, bye-bye.
Don't make yourself palatable for someone who would not do the same for you.
I wish everybody the strength of a female comedian in Chicago. Like, y'all need that. Y'all need that energy. Like, I saw a dude. I don't know what he said to her, but she looked him dead. And this is just average white guy. She looked him dead in the eye and said, "The world was made for you to win, and the best you can do is the weakest comedian in this room." Like, I'm like,
what? My heart just grew 3 sizes larger.
Like, shit.
That was a headshot. Yeah. We're taking no prisoners that day.
I'm telling y'all.
Yeah.
They are not fucking around out here.
Yeah. Like,
I need that kind of energy in my life.
I know. I was just thinking that. I was like, how do I bring more of that energy into my life? Although, as someone who's getting married, I've been told I never have to speak to a man again in my life. So if I so choose to, and I'm going to hold the world to that. No, I'm kidding. But God, I aspire to be as tough as the female comedians I looked up to when I was in Chicago. I aspire to be that vengeful, that difficult, that no fucks given. I think I'm on my way, but I can always use a little push.
Hey, number one red flag. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Bo just said, I told someone the other day, you don't need to make yourself more palatable to others. Other people need to refine their palate.
Yes.
Live with that energy. And I'm telling you, ask any dude in your life who his favorite comedians are. And if you can't name one female comedian, you need that person out your life. And if they say Louis C.K. or Dave Chappelle at this point, you need to get that person out your life.
Throw the whole man in the trash.
Oh, yeah. Just bin him and go.
So with that, that's all of our segments. And this has been a fun 3-hour conversation.
Oh, so I can't believe it.
I know, right? Like, so we're gonna start to land the plane here. I've had a blast talking with you. It's just as much fun as playing with you. I'm gonna ask the audience: is there any other questions you would like asked before we start to wrap this up? And also, Anita, are there any other questions that I missed? Because I'm jazzed up on coffee right now.
You've had 2 cups of death coffee. We knew that this was going to happen.
3 cups.
Ooh. Oh, you're on 3 cups of death coffee?
I'm fucked for the day.
Are you going to clean your entire apartment? Is that what's going to happen here?
Probably, yeah.
Nice. I love that for you. What's some good questions? Some good questions for now. Sorry, y'all. I was just doing some quick maintenance on my things. We talked a little bit about screenwriting and how that feeds into improv.
You're going over your mental notes.
I am. I'm going over like all the notes that I've had for this whole thing. I want each of you to give me a memorable either emotional or poignant moment from a TTRPG you've been in before we leave for the day.
Oh, okay. All right.
Ooh.
Shit.
That's a great note to end on.
Yeah.
Because
we do talk a lot of shit on this show. We do talk a lot about we do have some good nuggets of wisdom. We do talk a lot of shit. Let's do some lights. Let's do some spotlights.
Yeah.
Okay, I got one.
Go for it.
I had a character die recently. But he died in he's from a community that doesn't really understand so much individualism. They're very much a we, and they don't have many words for I. And so he joined a party of outsiders because he's going through a pilgrimage. And he formed a bond with one of the party members there. And it was very much we are a we at this point. And that party member started to get corrupted by their evil god. And my character was able to trick the big bad and give his friend enough time to break the mind control to get away. But it did cost him his life. But he was, more than happy to do it. And he returned to the Feywild after being disintegrated. It was nice. It was like a lovely emotional moment. I might have cried a little bit. I'll never tell you. That's confidential information. You don't have the clearance.
Yeah, just between you and the VOD and
shit. Burn the footage.
It's not on this channel. Me.
I know, right? I'll never tell you where it was or what game it was.
I know what game it was. I know where it was.
She says, holding her cat. I know.
I know all the secrets. I know where the bodies are buried, Noir.
Such a wonderful witchy little moment. Oh, I love it.
Hey.
Okay, so I remember the first moment when I was just like, so like most of the TTRPGs I play are, especially in the comedy space, for obvious reasons, and a lot of times it's just ha-has and funnies, and we're just stealing cop cars for no reason. You know what I mean? Like it's just ridiculous.
I can neither confirm nor deny that happened.
Exactly. One of my top 10 TTRPG moments ever. There was a moment in the first TTRPG I played where shit was getting real. And it was Balikbayan, which is this like Filipino cyberpunk game. And it was like in the middle of the pandemic, and it was like the first time I'd ever done this. And, you know, I was in a really like a dark headspace. You know, it was a pandemic and everything just fucking sucked. And you know, the theater world had gone dark and I didn't know what to do. So when Masood asked me to hop in, I was like, hell yes, something to do. We were performing, and there was a moment when my character, who was this like basically this like elemental life force, had stolen the face and the body of this like really silly like ditzy heiress or whatever. And so the entire season had been like playing two different portions of her mind. Well, the elemental at some point had to confront the fact that she had actually killed the heiress, and that the heiress had been gone. And so all of these choices that the elemental had made of choosing to save her friends and being connected with humanity that she swore she hated was actually from her. And like, I want to put that shit on my acting reel, okay? Because I felt it. It was like written just for me, and we had this like beautiful moment. And I remember truly afterwards being like, this is the power of doing this style of gaming. Like I had never, like that was something that was like I would experience maybe like very rarely in improv or like in acting. Like it was truly just like a wonderful storytelling moment. A character, like an NPC kind of character, had to go. And like afterwards, like everyone at the table was just like, we just need a moment, Shu. We just need a moment. And I like that legitimately changed how I viewed everything. So like that was a really beautiful moment for me. And I don't think I'll ever forget that.
We just wrapped up The Growing of the Dim, which was like a 6-part horror miniseries on the channel. And my players all did an amazing job and were fantastic. At one point I had everybody was crying because one of our players, unfortunately, Vin, was unable to make the final episode because he had schoolwork to do. So I was like, okay, what do you want? What do you want me to do? Just like, and he was like, okay, so if you can make like, if you wanted like kill my character to raise the stakes, like do that, like just do what you gotta do. And I'm like, are you sure, dude? And they're like, do it. I'm like, okay. So I had Vin's character Tristan run off to face the big bad by himself to give the others a chance to escape in the middle of this this sunken city that's at the bottom of a lake that the waters had parted around them, and the waters began to sort of collapse in on Tristan and the big bad, and the rest of them had a chance to leave, and everybody was just like broken because the last words that I had Tristan say to them, because they were talking about like what their part in this story was, or like someone had to get a sword and someone had to like talk to this, commune with the spirit, and someone had to do this and that, the other thing, and Tristan was like, this is my part, and runs off after the boss. And everybody was just like in tears, crying after like this big emotional moment, because like I just had Brandy, your Kind Ranger's character, meet up with her deceased mom, who was a spirit that was also like all the spirits that had been like sacrificed to the town were like in this lake. But anyways, but yeah, that was. And then at the very end, I decided that I'd twist the knife a little bit and I'd have Tristan wake up in the middle of the woods by himself, or by themselves, and sit up straight. And that's where we ended the series. So we had some really nice character moments.
Yo, what the fuck is wrong with us as TTRPG players where we just want to absorb other people's tears. Like, what?
Give me.
I can't be the only one that's like, when people are crying, I'm like, good.
Yes.
That's the thing, though, is like I'm like, I don't really want to, like, the thing, I had this moment of crisis because I'm like, okay, Vin is black and Tristan is the only black character in this game, and I'm like, I don't want to kill the black character, so I'm like, I have to bring them back at the end. I have to bring them back. I can't keep it. I can't make it permanent. It's not in a horror game. I couldn't keep it happening.
Yeah. I think it's very cathartic, right?
Yeah.
It's like after you cry, you just feel a little bit better, but it's just like a communal thing, right? Like you share this thing with other people and it's live and people are there, and that sort of like, you know, everybody together experience this thing. And I think that's really lovely.
Valkyrie,
and if
good soup. Good soup.
I'll say this much on this subject, then I'll tap. I think that making people laugh is fun and great, and it kind of brings us together, and it's just like I get to make someone happy. But when like something tragic happens to your character and people cry about it, I think that makes you feel cared for. Like,
yeah,
people care enough about this aspect of me that's not real. Like it's a fictional version of me, but people care about it so much that something happening to that elicits that emotion. I think the reason that we feed on that is because it's as close as you can get to like a virtual hug. Where it's just like,
because it is that little piece of yourself that is out in the world.
Yeah. That's really beautiful, y'alls. That's really lovely. Oh.
I think that's a good little wholesome bookend to this episode.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, that has been our show. Thank you all so much for stopping by and hanging out with us. I have been one of your hosts, Anita. You can find me here most times. Our guest next week is Danny, or the happy himbo of the TTRPG community.
Oh, we finally got him! Yeah!
We got Brutal Dan on.
I
gotta get some stuff from Danny in order to get all the promo material finished, but we're gonna have him on next episode. But you can find me here next week. You can find me on Into the Southlands on Kobold Press channel tomorrow, as we wrap that series up, or that season up. But yeah, that's me. Other than that, you can also find me on Vancouver by Night on Wednesdays for our Changeling the Dreaming game, where I play a Fae Eshu who is gets glamour from a comic book store.
Very cool.
That's me. I'm gonna throw it down to my co-host.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm a whole ass noir. You can find me all over the internet as TheNoirEnigma. That's Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. I am the producer for Rivals of Waterdeep, which will be coming on tomorrow, so please check that out. I am the GM of Kobold Press's Into the Southland, and our season finale is tomorrow. Will there be tears? I don't know. After this discussion, I think I'm going to try and make some. Let's see. Every Wednesday, you can find me over on Chromatic Chimera for Woven Realm, our 13th Age game. And really, that's kind of all I have going for the most part. Oh, yeah. Tomorrow, please catch me on stream for Drunken Cover. It is my stream show where I drink a lot of alcohol and play music. So, like, check that out. It's fun. Also, like, if check this shirt out, you like it, you can buy it. You should buy this shirt. We have them.
We have merch.
We've got merch now. So, support the show, pick up a shirt, and that's it. And for our lovely guests, please tell the people who you are, where they can find you, what you're up to these days.
Hi everyone, I've been Shu, and you've just listened to me ramble on like no sleep for the last 3 hours. Thank you, bless you. I'm kind of just in between a lot of things right now, so you'll find out more if you just hit me up on Twitter at hellothereshu.com or hellothereshu, same as Instagram. It's kind of there for everything, and I have so enjoyed this. Thank you so much, Nora. You were one of like my favorite people to play with. You have such great energy. Like I know even if it's like 6 a.m. in the morning, like even if I'm not energetic, I know that your energy will carry me through. And I appreciate that. Anita, thank you so much for having me on here and for like doing all the scheduling stuff. And I can only imagine what an amazing GM you are. So thank you both so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. We're going to go ahead and start the process of rating. And we don't normally end the show this way. And Anita, I'm going to let you do the way that we actually end the show, but I can't have Shu here and not do this at least once. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Hashtag reclaim your sauce.
Okay. We're going to go on a raid to Punkle Nix is playing some RPGs. So we're going to go say hi over there. Thank you all so much for stopping by and hanging out with us. But until next time, the ritual has concluded. Bye, everybody.
Bye.